Good Sunday morning to you guys. Yesterday was the weekend, so usually I'm usually out and about doing something. Yesterday there was a trial down in LA, the Granger Field in Compton. The trial was NADF, National Association and Federation of Dogs, or something like that. They've been doing it for a while. This club is one of those things that have come and gone as far as popularities went up and then down, and it happens sometimes in sports. But now it's being carried by a gentleman that's here in the LA area that's doing pretty good with it, standing behind it. So it's starting to get a little stronger all the time. I think he did a couple trials last year, a couple trials this year probably. So we're on a roll with what he's got going on. It's called NADF. And it's got the basics of like a lot of different sports. It's got a good obedience section and tier 1, 2, and 3. You've got a lower tier for your ELs for your entry level. So in other words, you got to prove yourself first, show some control, understand the concept of what you're after, and before they let you go to the higher stages, right? It's kind of like a temperament test. Most of the sports do have some of that entry level type of adherence, make sure that the dogs are stable and that the person can handle them and has good control of their dog, right? Very important if you're going to go into bite work, for sure, The one that's the most common, that's the most well-known is the Schutzen's IGP nowadays. Schutzen BH is what it's called, the BH. And then the new United States Schutzen, which is an American sport, it's a derivative of the Schutzen, basically, is really doing. I really like what they're doing with that club. They're really very viable for a breed survey and breed test, and that's what where their heads are at. So they've got a very good entry level for their BH. They call it something else. Can't think of the name of it right now, but I have to get into it. But their entry level has got a lot more in the temperament test and things like that are a lot more viable for law enforcement. In other words, the dog's got to have strong nerve. He's got to be able to get on the basic things that law enforcement always test for. What do they test for if they come to test a dog for protection? Does anybody know that? They're testing to see where the dog's heart is at. So he's usually a little older, and they do one of the tests they do is they put the dog out in the woods, leave him there about 30 minutes. Bad guy comes walking up, puts pressure on the dog, and they want to see if the dog is going to defend himself, if he's going to do what he needs to do because he's got the moxie within him, in his heart, or is he doing it only because the behavior's been trained, right? So they throw that curve at him. And it's a good test of the dog's overall courage and where's his heart, right? So then they do that one, and then they look for slippery floors. They look for environmental, slippery forests, open stairways, things like that. Has the dog been worked through this? Is he comfortable with going in dark areas? These are things that the dog's got to face on the street as a police dog, right? So they throw him through some rudimentary testing around the edges of these type of things to make sure that the dog is a stable, well-developed animal, right? So it's an interesting thing when you get into it. So NADF, it's a good sport, it's well-rounded, and had a good time with it. So they're out there again today, Sunday. So we'll find out what happens with that. I'm on my way over to see Lewis Williams. Lewis Williams owns Black Mask Canine, and he's been in LA for like 30 years. One of those guys, just a good old dog man, He's been around for years. I used to work with him when we were together way back in the day, was when I would run into him with Caesar. We'd be working in the back alleys and doing a lot of protection work and bite work in the back alleys of South Central. That's over 20, 30 years ago. So me and Lewis go way back. And he just recently got himself a place up here in the high desert. And me and him, because we're all old sea dogs, so to speak, should get along pretty well. I haven't hung with him on a daily process, but we're going to go on a regular basis. He's got some projects he wants to put together, so we're going to start working on a project that he's pitched to me. I'll go over there and take advantage of the fact that I've got somebody up here that can work dogs to the caliber that I want them worked. I have a hard time with a lot of these kids, I'll tell you, because they come up and they right away hang a shingle up. You've heard me talk about this before. I'm poofed on a dog trader. They hang a shingle up, and they think they know what they're doing, and they either have a pretty good skill, some of them pretty good decoys. There's a couple of them I've ran through that I really like their decoy work. They understand what they're doing as far as building a dog, and they follow direction. That's real important to me. You got to be able to follow direction if you're working with me, because I want certain things out of that animal, and I know my dog, right? So if you're a decoy and you get around me, realize don't mind paying you, but I want to work with you instead of have you be the big ego and you're the man that's calling the tune and it's all you. It doesn't work that way around somebody like me, right? So some of these kids have a hard time dealing with that because they want to be the big ego and they want to be the big man on the block, and they're used to bullshitting their way through the general public that doesn't have a clue, and so they act like they know what they're doing and they preach all this preaching. If they get people around them that can drink the Kool-Aid and can stay with it long enough, they might be able to learn and grow enough to become a pretty good trainer. But it's all about following that person that's got their individual business and drinking the Kool-Aid. If you're like me, I'm not a Kool-Aid drinker. I've been doing this a lot of years. You need to work with me on a different basis, right? You have to have a certain mental attitude that you're willing to have an open mind that realize that it doesn't matter who you are, how long you've been doing this. And me, I've been doing it since I was 12. I eat, breathe, and sleep dogs. I've got a lot more of a saturation level than most dog trainers you'll ever meet. That being the case, but at the same time, even with all that knowledge, I always have an attitude. What is my attitude? I know nothing, and I know everything before I know everything. Excuse me. I know everything, and I know nothing before I know everything. Meaning, you never stop learning, you never stop growing. I came up with that little saying when I was 18 years old. When I was a kid, when I got back from Oakland, came back to San Luis, my little hometown, after I'd spent 2 years living in the back of a kennel. Came back to my little small town and started my first business. And I've had that attitude, and I've had it for years, and it came from me. It's something that I really put out a lot of. And now there's a lot of people that think the same way. There's a lot of good dog trainers out there, and with a healthy attitude, they're the people that you want in the profession, right? But it's all about your attitude as a young person coming in. First off, you shouldn't hang a shingle up, but that's part and parcel of our society nowadays. These kids don't want to work for anything, so they don't feel it. In my day, we knew we had to go work for somebody. We had to go apprentice under somebody. I had to eat, breathe, and sleep dogs and end up eating crow every day of the week and go out and scoop shit and learn how to take care of the dogs and from the ground up. And I knew I was going to work my ass up because there was something I wanted. I wanted to learn and grow. Nowadays, kids got this internet. They watch these videos and they poof though. They're an instant. It's the instant gratification of our society. And I always like to tell people, you guys probably heard me that watch my videos a lot, heard me say this before. It's like a kid that wants to go out and become a photographer. In the old days, you had to go to college, you had to go to photojournalism. Like my girlfriend got a major, one of my ex-girlfriends when I was a kid, got a major in photojournalism, went to Cal Poly Tech and busted her ass for 4 or 5 years to get that degree and became a photojournalist. Well, that means she learned how to handle a camera to the point of being in the dark room and developing film, and they go through everything, you know. They don't just say, poof, I'm a photographer, right? And nowadays, they got computerization has come into everything, so the kids think that they see it on a computer, they can just do it, right? Just go poof them. Go out and buy a camera with all those fancy switches and does it all for you. You don't even have to do anything. Put it on automatic and just go out and take pictures. Poof, I'm a photographer. That's the sad part of our society nowadays. And our industry is just as affected by this general overall malaise and the general attitude of the kids nowadays. They don't want to work for anything. You know, it's just poof, I'm an expert. You know, so but it is what it is. So we're going to be going with Lou and working with him today. And now that he's up here, I'm going to be doing a little bit more consistently working with somebody like Lou. He's got a project, like I said, I can't tell you about it enough to kill you, but he wants to have me help him put it together a little bit, which I'm more than open-minded to. Working as a team and working with a group of people is what I wanted to do for a long time, so we'll find out how long, if this is going to work or not. I think we're both adult enough and old enough that we don't give a shit a lot about what a lot of the kids want, you know. They've got to stroke their ego, they got to make themselves feel good, they doubt themselves within their inner core, so because of that, they don't have what me and Lou have. Me and Lou have, we don't doubt, we know exactly. You know, things happen. Lou yesterday had a bad day. You know, he had lost a few points and his dog had a brain fart. He was frustrated, he was upset, but he didn't throw a bitch and get in a fight on the sideline or anything. He just took his lumps and walked away, and he'll be another day. And he'll work on what happened yesterday at home. We'll start working on it today, most likely. But yeah, his dog did a brain fart, and shit like that happens. You know, it's part parcel of playing this game when you get out and compete. You know, I don't compete, but I see it all the time. I've been out there for as many years watching it on the bench and seeing it. So you got to admire it. You know, he still gets out there and took it on the chin, and you know, it didn't make him feel good. Believe me, he was a little pissed off, but didn't let him see it. Didn't throw a bitch. You know, was an adult about it, right? And a professional. That's what matters, right? That's what it's all about. All right, guys, I'll let you go. I'm here at Lou's house now. We're going to get some training in. I'll be letting you know more as we get this put together a little bit more, but I can't tell you anything now to have to kill you. So stay in touch. Keep watching the videos, and we'll show you what we can when we get there. Thank you much. Bye-bye. Mark Ferrasci, Protect Dog Training up in the high desert. Talk to you later.